Hello, in this video I'm going to go over IELTS writing, specifically how to write an introduction, an overview, and a conclusion. So if you have questions about these things, this video is perfect for you. Well, let's first talk about the introduction. Now, the first thing you should do in any IELTS writing task is restate the prompt. And let's have a look at that now. Now let's have a look at a task 2 writing prompt that I have reworded and then added my own opinion. So here is the prompt. It is better for young people to get advice from older people than young people. Do you agree or disagree? So this is how I've changed it. Some feel that it is more advantageous to receive advice from the elderly rather than youngsters. So you can see here that I've changed the words, but it has the same overall meaning. You must restate the prompt, but don't use the same words because those words won't count towards your essay. Now here's my opinion. I'm inclined to feel that both offer useful knowledge depending on what the advice is regarding. One more point I'd like to make is you don't have to say, in this essay, I will, and many times people say, discuss the points of both. The examiner knows that you're going to talk about this, and in formal writing, this is not proper. Now, by far, the most difficult task to write is the task 1 academic, because you have to make sure you write an overview. And this is at the end or the beginning. So let me go into a little more detail about this now. An overview states the overall trends of what you're going to write about in your essay. This means don't add numbers, don't add too much detail. It should be one sentence, maybe two, and basically it's giving an overview or a general statement about the main points. So let's have a look at this in more detail with some examples. Let's have a look at a good example for IELTS Task 1s where you're given data. This could be a table, a pie chart, a line graph, anything like this. So here's the example. According to the data, it seems likely that international tourism will become the dominant industry, although dairy exports will remain strong. So as you can see, there are no numbers here, and it covers the main two industries that are revealed in the bar graph or line graph, depending on how IELTS has decided to present this information. Now for a diagram, it's slightly different because in a diagram, there'll be a bunch of pictures showing you a process. So let's have a look at this example. Ocean thermal energy conversion, OTEC, is a system that converts heat energy into the electric power using the temperature difference between surface seawater, and there are 7 stages to make this happen. So as you can see, an overview for a diagram is a bit different because again, you're talking about stages in a process. A map overview is also quite different because you'll be comparing maps at different times. So here's a common example. During this period, the hospital has increased in size and, in addition to a new nursing school, a cancer center has been created and extended. So from this, you'll go into more detail of what's happening between the different maps. But again, the overview is what's the main point happening in the information that IELTS gives you. Okay, now let's talk about the introduction for General Task 1. Well, it just starts with why you are writing the letter. And this is quite logical because many people have written letters or emails. So basically, you're just stating what the letter is about. But let's go into more detail about this now. This is the beginning of a complaint letter to maybe a newspaper or a city council. And here it goes. I'm a resident of Cedar Road, and I have recently discovered in our local newspaper that a shopping mall will be built near where I live. I have some major concerns regarding this. So this is stating what the letter will be about, and then the writer will go into more detail of why he or she has concerns about this shopping mall. And that's basically how any letter will start. It doesn't matter the topic, you're kind of stating the purpose of why you're writing the letter. Now, the best advice I can give for writing introductions and overviews is to find lots of examples online. There are many out there if you do a simple Google search. Now, What I recommend, especially for IELTS Task 1, is underline the overview. If you're able to find it, then you have a better understanding of what an overview does and where it's usually found. And I strongly recommend that you notice how the prompt is restated. Again, this is important because if you just use the same words from the IELTS prompt, you don't get credit for using different vocabulary. Now let's move on to talk about conclusion. Now I want to say at the beginning, a conclusion is not necessary if you have covered all the main points. It really isn't necessary. Many people think they have to write one, but again, for task achievement, you just have to make sure you cover all the main points. Now you may have one more final point that you want to make in the conclusion. Well, that's fine. But again, don't feel that you have to write a conclusion. But in some instances, a conclusion can be useful. It can be useful for giving your final opinion. This could be where you're comparing two things and you want to give your final opinion in your conclusion. That's very valid. You could be making a prediction about the future. Again, you're adding more to your essay. So this is also a good use of a conclusion. The one I recommend the least is restating your main points to make your writing clearer. A lot of people just simply reword what they've already said in their introduction. And while this does happen in many essays, the examiner is really looking for your unique ideas. And just simply restating what you've already said in your introduction isn't really adding a lot of information to your essay. So I recommend if you're just restating the introduction and your overview, then I would say save your time and don't write the conclusion. Now, here's an example of a good conclusion that does offer a good final point to the essay. In my opinion, schools and the workplace are just two of the areas in which those who have reached retirement age can continue to contribute to their communities. As life expectancy improves, the need to maintain an active and socially meaningful life may also increase. Experience suggests that this trend can have benefits for all, not just the elderly. So as you can see, this is making a great final point and a little bit of a prediction and why it's useful. This is a great example of a conclusion, but remember, if this has already been stated in your body paragraphs, this is not necessary. Well, that's what you can expect for an introduction, overview, and conclusion. I hope you found this video useful, and good luck on your IELTS test.